Hey, hello, welcome everybody to today's workshop. Hope you're having a lovely Sunday, and if you're watching this later on, I hope you're having a lovely day. Want to welcome you today to today's workshop. My name is Jason Hamilton. I'm the founder of this group, and every Sunday, right about this time, we do our best to bring you a live workshop to help you get better and more confident and more knowledgeable about all things retirement. And ideally, have some time at the end to interact and answer questions. So that's why I like to do them live. I could just record the video and post it up, but I want to be here with you. So in case you do have any questions, I can clarify or possibly answer any things you might need to know a little bit more about. And also I'd like to say hi and get to say hello to everybody. So if you're here today, please say hello. Leave me a comment. I'd love to hear how you're doing today. And always, if there's anything you're grateful for today, if you're feeling some gratitude, please leave that in the comments as well. For me, I'm just happy everything's staying healthy. Same things like it seems like things are getting back on track. It's a beautiful sunny day here, so we got to get outside this weekend to the beach, and it was absolutely wonderful. So I want to welcome everybody again to join us. And so today we're going to talk about your Social Security claiming decision. Okay, this is one of the subjects that we call the hot topics. Here in the group. Anytime this subject comes up, there's it's World War III going off. People talking about how their best friend passed away early, and so they're claiming early, or others that are saying, hey, they're going to wait all the way until 70 to get the most out of it. And I think everybody's decision is individualized. It is a very individual decision, but I do think it should be based on more math versus you hoping that you pass away early and so you get the most out of it by taking it day one. Some of you have no choice. Some of you have a lot of choices. And I really think if you're married, it's an even bigger decision on how the claiming decision will impact you and your spouse, potentially long term. So we're going to dig into a lot of that today. We're going to talk about some numbers and some key statistics around Social Security. So I hope you find those interesting. And then from there, we'll go into thinking about how to make your claiming decision. And again, if you have any questions about this, please leave them in the comments below. Or if you have questions or you want some help on how to make your decision, please feel free to reach out through either messages or schedule an appointment with me. So I want to jump over here now to our actual workshop. All right, good. Everything's looking good here. Okay, so the title of today's workshop is called When to Begin Your Retiree Social Security Benefits. So I want to just clarify, we're talking about retiree benefits. We're not talking about disability benefits or anything like that. That's a different discussion. And before we jump in, I have to let you know that everything here is a educational in delivery. It's not meant to be individualized investment advice, financial advice, or anything like that. Hey, Mary, how's it going? Glad to hear it's a sunny day where you're at. But really to jump into some of the statistics on Social Security, and that you may or may not know about some of these, but the average Social Security benefit in 2021 was $1,543, okay? So as you may know, Social Security was not designed to replace 100% of your earned income. It's generally designed to replace somewhere around 20 to 40%. For many people, it's more actually, but some people it's definitely less. The maximum possible Social Security benefit for somebody who retires at full retirement age in 2021 is $3,148. So that's a pretty big benefit, and that's at full retirement age. So obviously, it can go up beyond that if you are waiting until beyond 70 at that point. But to earn that maximum benefit, you would need to earn the maximum taxable income amount, which currently is $142,800 for 2021. And in 2020, it was $137,700 over your 35-year career. So if you average that over your 35-year career, you get the maximum benefit. But one thing I want you to look at here is they increased the wage base a pretty significant amount from 2020 to 2021. It's 3.7%. So you got to remember that you are paying 6.2% on that wage base as a maximum until you earn above that. And then your employer pays another 6.2% unless you happen to be self-employed, and then you get to pay both sides. And that's like me. So I pay 12.4%. Not a lot of fun when you're looking at these sort of numbers here, but this is what they are. So how do you calculate your Social Security payments? Your Social Security payments are calculated using your highest 35 earning years of your career and are adjusted for inflation. So if you've worked 40 years, for example, then it would be your highest 35 years and the lowest 5 will get wiped out. If you, the Social Security earned income is indexed all the way through age 60. So if you earn more money after age 60 because you keep working past age 60, you have to understand that for them to wipe out a lower year, it's not just based on the actual dollar amount. It's based on a inflation index that's included in there. So really want to think about that when you're maybe working part-time, just so you can get some extra Social Security, that it will be based on the it will be adjusted for inflation. So if you work more than 35 years, your lowest earning years are dropped from the calculation, which results in a higher payment. And for those of you that haven't worked 35 years, you'll have what we call zeros averaged into the Social Security calculation and get smaller payments. So every year, less than 35 that you work, you get what's called a zero. And so if any of you are math nerds, you'll know that if you were to add in more zeros into that bottom divisor, that's going to significantly impact the payment that you receive. So you may want to consider, even if it's part-time, working a little bit more so you can get your full 35 years if you haven't worked that long of your working career. And to continue on here, for a worker who becomes eligible for Social Security payments in 2021, this is how it works. It's kind of a technical formula, but I figured I'd share with you anyways. The benefit amount is calculated by multiplying the first $996 of averaged index monthly earnings by 90%, the remaining earnings by up to $6,002 by 32%, and then the earnings over $6,002 by 15%. So when you take the sum of these three amounts, rounded down to the nearest 10 cents, this is the initial payment amount that you'll receive. So cost of living adjustments and delayed retirement credits can boost your payments above this amount. So that's how the formula works. So in case you're ever wondering, I've seen that many times before. People wonder that, so that's how it works. Let's see here. Mary has a question. Are those average monthly payments at full retirement age or at 70 years? That's at full retirement age, Mary. That's what we're talking about there, full retirement age. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about factoring in Social Security, your Social Security retirement age. So when you start Social Security, it's going to play a big role in your payment amounts. We've talked about this before, that if you claim prior to your full retirement age, you lose about 6% per year off your benefit. And if you delay past your full retirement age, you gain about 8% per year. So your monthly Social Security benefit will be reduced if you claim payments before your full retirement age, which is typically 66 or 67, depending on your birth year. You can boost your monthly payments for each month you delay claiming between your full retirement age and age 70. So many people don't know that. Each month that you delay, you can actually boost your benefit a little bit. It's not like you have to wait a whole nother year to receive that benefit. It's actually boosted by just month by month as you are continuing to work beyond that particular age. So again, these are things maybe you don't, maybe you knew, maybe you didn't know. So hopefully you found that interesting. So the single people is a little bit more straightforward. When I have married couples or people that we're dealing with that have two possible claiming options, this is where it gets a little bit more tricky. So married individuals are eligible for Social Security payments equal to 50% of the higher earning spouse's payment if that's more than the payments based on their own work record. Okay, so if the spouse is if the second spouse, who might be the lower earner, if their payment is higher than 50% of the higher earning spouse's expected payment, then they will get they'll get the spouse's payment plus an additional bonus that would be equivalent to what they'd get paid if they claimed on their own. So spousal payments are reduced if you claim them before your full retirement age. The maximum the spousal payment will be is 50% of the full retirement age benefit. So keep that in mind, that if the higher earning person is going to be delaying past full retirement age until 68, 69, or 70, for example, it doesn't necessarily increase the spouse's 50% that they will receive. So there's a little bit of tricky stuff here, and this is why you really want to make sure you're looking at all the variables. But that is for spousal. And you can also claim payments based on your ex-spouse's work record if the marriage lasted for 10 years or more. So for those of you that are going into retirement age and you were married for 10 years or more, and maybe you have your own benefit now because you had to work, for example, and you did work the whole time. Well, there is a nice little trick you can do, which is claiming on your spouse's record, and then you can start that, especially if it's less than what you're expecting to get, and then you can allow your benefit to continue to grow and get those delayed credits. So you're getting something along the way, but then when it's time to switch over to your benefit, if it's higher than that spousal benefit, then that can be a really smart way to go when it comes to claiming your Social Security benefit. Okay, a spouse can also claim survivor's benefits if the higher earning spouse passes away first. Okay, so again, these are always a sad situation to think about, but I just want to give you the information so that you can use this in case you are a widow. So couples should coordinate when they claim payments to maximize their benefit as a couple and to potentially qualify for higher payments for a surviving spouse. So a really good way to look at it is, well, maybe you want to claim the lower earning spouse's benefit early if they qualify for their own, and then let that second one, the larger spousal benefit, delay for a little bit longer. That's a good way to go about it. A couple of things people forget about sometimes. So subtracting Medicare premiums. So most retirees have their Medicare Part B premiums deducted from their Social Security checks. The standard Medicare Part B premium is $148.50 per month in 2021. So you have to remember that this is going to come out of your monthly payment. So as you are deciding when to claim, a big part of when to claim is, well, how much are you going to get, right? You want to look at how much that payment's going to be and what you're going to net. And so don't forget to include your spousal payment in there. So Medicare Part B payments are prohibited by law from decreasing Social Security payments for existing beneficiaries. So a Medicare Part B premium hike can't be more than the annual Social Security cost of living adjustment. But you could see your Part D premium go up, and that can impact the amount you receive from your check depending on which plan you choose. So, Part D, that is based on whatever plan you choose. And there's different plans there, okay? So that can definitely reduce your check year to year depending on what your plan does. So that's something to keep in mind. The other thing to consider when it comes to your nets that you're going to receive from your Social Security is that there might be some income tax withholding you have to think about. So many retirees have to pay income tax and Social Security payments, especially if they have other sources of retirement income. So your tax could be zero, by the way. So if your only source of income is Social Security, then you're going to pay 0% tax on that. There's also something called provisional income, that if your Social Security is below a certain amount, you pay zero. And then at the next level, you pay 50% of your Social Security can be taxable, up to a maximum currently of 85% of your Social Security can be taxable if your income goes over those amounts. So provisional income is what you want to look into when it comes to that. But if there's, like I said, if there's no Social Security, if there's only Social Security income, there is no tax due. And when you go to enroll, you can elect to have either 7, 10, 12, or 22% of your Social Security payments withheld for income tax. So how you want to think about that is you want to take a look at what your income is estimated to be for the year in advance, and then see what your effective tax rate is going to be. And then based on that, then choose what you're going to elect to withhold from your Social Security. The far majority of people are going to be somewhere between 10 or 12%. Very few people are going to be at 22, but if you're a high income earner, then definitely you want to consider getting the right number, and it might be higher than 12, you might have to go to 22. For many people, if you're going to have 0% tax and that's your only source of income, well, you may not need to put anything aside. So again, you want to look at what your expected effective income tax rate will be, and then make the decision on this election when it comes up as an option for you. Okay. So now we're going to talk a little bit about when to claim your Social Security benefit. Okay. And so I have to put in my disclaimer here to please remember that everyone's situation is different, and you should consider all variables or work with an advisor that can help you to make an integrated decision. There's a lot of things that come into play here when it comes to making your Social Security decision. Okay, so a couple things to know though. The actuarial system used to calculate your Social Security benefit is actually age neutral. So what it's expecting is that if you live to your exact life expectancy, there's no benefit of delaying. So that's what they're expecting. But again, of course, that's average means 50% of people live longer and 50% of people live shorter, right? So determining your longevity is one of the big unknowns in retirement planning. So when we are working with clients, this is one of those things we just don't know. We do our best to guess based on previous history, but it is difficult to determine. There's a lot of factors that can come in, and health is obviously one of them. Previous family history, other lifestyle choices that you're making now, those are all big things you want to consider. So that being said, though, the decision about when to begin receiving Social Security benefits may be the most significant decision in the retirement income planning process. This is a big decision, folks. I mean, when you're looking at when to claim, you could receive a 50% higher payment between when you could start at 62 and when you could start at 70. So if you're still working and earning income, there's some things in here we'll talk about, but you really want to think about when to time this. And I know a lot of people want to get their money today, but that's the common American mentality is no sense of delayed gratification. So I really want you to make sure you're making the right choice for you based on the numbers, not just only on the fact that you had a friend that passed away early, and so you don't want to miss out in case you die. That's just really not the right way to do it. You want to look at the overall factors on that, okay? So how do we frame this decision? I think you should frame this decision as an insurance decision, okay? Because Social Security works like an annuity, and it provides the needed protection against longevity risk, which is the risk of outliving, or the risk of outliving your money. So the bigger benefit you have coming in from Social Security, the longer it's going to help your investments last, the more protection you're going to have in case you lived longer. So these are things that I think that's really the primary decision, the primary lens, I should say, that you want to look at using for your particular decision. And in fact, Social Security could be the best annuity available because it is inflation adjusted and it's guaranteed by the government. Okay, so a lot of people think it's going to go away, and it's not going to potentially fully go away. What we're looking at now is a potential 20% decrease by about 2035 or possibly earlier since the coronavirus. But I doubt that's going to happen. I really think we are going to probably be looking at increased taxes somewhere along the way. And that could be either from adjusting that wage base that we talked about earlier and going up from the 142.8 up to whatever number. They're talking about having a donut hole where if you make above $400,000, you have a gap between the 180,000 or so up to 400, and then after 400,000 you pay tax again above that amount. There's a lot of options that are out there to try to fill this gap, but I don't think it's going to go completely away. So I do think you should consider Social Security actually being a part of what you get. So the question is, I saw a question that came in. So what is the best longevity source to use? I have a few that say the average 62-year-old male will live another 21 years on average. That would be to 83, so that's a little bit short. But there are some good resources out there. I have some that I can send to you, or I'll put them in the comments for after. I have a couple links that you can go to and check those out. And that's a good question, though. Really good question. Okay. So this decision is not a one-size-fits-all decision. So here's some factors that you want to consider when it comes to making your decision. So one big one is whether you're still employed. If you're still employed past 62, you have to understand that there is going to be what's called an earned income test, that if you earn a certain amount over, in this case, $18,960 if you are before the year you turn your full retirement age, or $50,520 in the year you reach your full retirement age, there is a penalty. I'm going to talk about this a little bit later, but you will lose part of your Social Security income today if you earn over these amounts. It will be adjusted and you will get it back later eventually over time, but you will have a reduction in your monthly income today if you earn over these amounts and you're around these ages or before. So that's something you want to consider. The second thing is marital status. If you have a spouse to consider, that's a big deal. You're not only planning for yourself, you're planning for a second person. And if one of you passes early, having the larger benefit you have, the more secure that person is going to be. The third one there is health. So health is a big consideration when it comes to when to make a Social Security decision. If you have health issues, if things have come up, then obviously taking it earlier is probably the better bet. But if you're healthy, you're doing really well, and you're 62, you really want to consider when to time that, and delaying could be a good choice. Next thing to consider is your personal wealth. So if you don't have a lot of money saved, well, then maybe you have no choice but to take Social Security early. But if you have a good amount of money saved, well, having that larger Social Security benefit down the road could be really beneficial for you in many ways, not only from a security perspective, but from also a taxability perspective, because the most of your Social Security income that can be taxed is 85%, whereas 100% of your withdrawals from your IRAs or 401ks are going to be taxable. So again, there's some things there. We'll talk about that in a few moments. Those are things to consider. The next thing is your personal risk tolerance, okay? So there's a lot of factors that go into that. If you have a high risk tolerance, well, maybe you think your investments can do better than what Social Security is going to return. That's something to consider. If you have a very low risk tolerance, well, then maybe you don't want to take as much investment risk. That could be another reason for you to delay, by the way, because the more guaranteed income you have from your Social Security, the less you're going to need to depend on your investments. So whether you have high or low risk tolerance, delaying could be something to think about, or claiming early. And then investment savvy will also need to be considered. So, if you're a very savvy investor, maybe you can do better than what the increase is going to be, and maybe you can take the money and invest it. That could be something to consider. So why claim early? There's a few main reasons I think that you might want to claim early. The first one is you have no choice. There's no choice due to lack of other income sources. And this is just a reality for some people, and if that's you, then don't feel bad at all. This is just what it is, and you have to make that choice. Number two is if health is a concern. So if you're having health issues at 62, then you may want to really consider taking that early, because there's a good chance you might not make it to the average age. Then that's something you want to take into consideration. And then the third one is if you believe your personal investments can outperform the approximately 8% annual delayed retirement credits provided by Social Security, then go for it. A well-diversified stock market portfolio has done about an average of compound average return of about 8% over the last 20 to 25 years. So if you can do better than that, maybe. But having this guaranteed money could be something that really helps you in the long run. All right, some things about delaying. So why would you want to consider delaying? Really, the biggest factor to start with is that compounding cost of living adjustment. So, it's about 5% the first year, 5.75 the next few years, and then after your full retirement age, you get 8% per year. That continues to add to your guaranteed benefit over time. Not only that, every year on average, you're going to get some sort of cost of living adjustment. It's been about 1.8 to 2.5% over the years. So whatever your base wage is, your base benefit is, you're going to get 1.8 to 2.5% of that continually added to your Social Security income. So the lower amount you start with, the lower amount you're going to get. Another reason to delay is reduction in investment risk. So think about it like this. If your Social Security at 62 only took care of, let's say, 50% of your retirement need, well, now you have to make up the other 50% from your investments. So you're going to be forced to take a good amount of investment risk to make up the other half. Well, if by delaying to 67 or 70, now you only have to fill in the box for maybe 20 to 30% of your income from your investments, well, that's going to require you to take a lot less risk down the road. So these are things that, and then again, as your Social Security continues to go up over time, maybe your debt goes down because you pay off your home at some point or it's paid off, you're going to need less and less money to live. So the more money you have from Social Security, the less money you'll need from investments, and then you can continue to reduce risk if you are someone who's risk averse. And then the third thing is it can be a really tax-savvy strategy. Like I mentioned before, the maximum amount that your Social Security, of your Social Security income that can be taxed is 85% of that dollar amount. Versus an IRA distribution or a 401k distribution, it's 100% of that dollar amount. So there's some things there that, especially if you can keep your taxes low, by the way, if you can keep your income low, if your income is below those provisional income limits, well, you can actually pay 0% tax on your Social Security income, where again, your investment income, your money that comes out of your tax-deferred accounts, that's going to be taxable income no matter how you look at it. So there's a lot of ways to really build this, we call it building the puzzle together of your retirement income strategy, but utilizing Social Security in a smart way can be very beneficial if done right. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about estimating life expectancy. So according to the data compiled by the Social Security Administration, a man reaching 65 today can expect to live on average until 84.3. So, that's, if you look at delaying your Social Security, and we'll talk about this as well, but it takes, somewhere between 78 to 80 is the average break-even age, because I know people are going to ask about that. We'll talk about that in a moment. But so the average person is going to come out ahead by delaying Social Security, right? If you look at these numbers, if you're already 65. A woman turning 65 today can expect to live on average until 86.6. And about 1 out of every 4 65-year-olds today will live past age 90. So that's 1 in 4. So 25%. That is not a small percentage. And 1 out of 10 65-year-olds will live past age 95. Okay, so that's a 10% chance. That's a little bit on the smaller side. But I also read another statistic somewhere else saying that if you are married and you and your spouse are both 65, there's a 51% chance that one of you will live past 90. So these are real statistics. And so what that means is 50% of men are expected to live beyond 84.3. 50% of women are expected to live beyond 86.6. Okay, so this is something you want to take into consideration when you're making your choice here. Okay, and like I said, these are just the averages, and 50% will live beyond these. But these figures also do not take into account factors such as current health, lifestyle, and family history, all of which could increase or decrease your life expectancy. So if you're somebody who's out walking every day, you're eating healthy, you're not a smoker, you're not a drinker, well, those are factors that can really add in to that increase in that average age. So you want to take that into account as you are planning your Social Security timing. Okay, so where are my people that say, it's going to take me X number of years to break even, so why would I want to delay? Or I'm never going to break even, so why would I want to delay? If that's you, please leave me a comment and let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Okay, so for single individuals, okay, this is single people. This is a different statistic than married. For single individuals, ages 78 to 80 are the most common break-even ages. And of course, this estimate of break-even is based on average life expectancies. So if you look at the average life expectancies, let's go back to that for a second, of 84 for men and 86 for women, then on average, everybody's going to come out ahead by delaying, right? I mean, that's pretty much what it is. So maybe that's not you, and maybe you had a friend that passed away, and whatever. I mean, those are things you want to think about. I don't really want you to think about break even. I guess that's my point. I want you to think about your financial situation and what's going to be best for you from a financial perspective, especially if you do live longer. I mean, I think that's really the most important. But some shortfalls here of the break even approach for the claiming decision. The first is the obvious fact that we cannot know for certain the individual's life expectancy. We just don't know how long you're going to live. So that's definitely a downside. And then here's another big one. This is a huge one if you're married. Does your spouse have a need for a survivor benefit? Okay, because if so, delaying to increase this benefit makes sense regardless of the client's life expectancy, a consideration that is ignored by the break-even approach. So if, let's say, for example, if one of you passed away early, could your investments help the surviving spouse survive the next 10, 20, 30 years, whatever it may be, without any other sources of, or with that lower income amount if you were to take early? This is a big deal because if you look at things like long-term care, for example, long-term care in most states is somewhere in-home care. If you're going to get a kind of a full-time in-home care person, about $4,000 to $6,000 a month. So call it 48 to 70,000 per year or so for an in-home care person to come in full-time. For facility care in a private room, you're looking more in the $8,000 to $10,000 per month range for somebody to go in. And then you can add another $2,000 per month for somebody who has to go into memory care if there's any signs of dementia, right? So think about how much investment you have and what you're expected to have towards the end. And if one of you passed away early, how long would your investments last if you were to take your Social Security benefit early? Comparing that to what if you had all those delayed credits and you had another 50%, of that income amount that was going to be coming in? How much longer would your portfolio last if that second person to survive or second person to pass away were to have to live off of that income? That's a real thing you really want to consider because things don't usually happen at the exact same time. Usually one person is going to go earlier and the other person will go later. But and then on top of that, if you're married, if one person has some issues that would normally qualify for long-term care, well, you have another spouse that might be healthy enough to help them for a while. They won't have to go straight to paid care. But if you have somebody who's a survivor and they're by themselves, well, unless there's a child or somebody's going to come in, they're going to go right to paid care. So this is something you really want to think about here. Okay. I know I see some sad faces. This is sad things to talk about, but it's reality. And I want you to make logical decisions based on potential situations that could come up, so that you're in a good spot for later. Okay, that's all I want. And I know it's very sad, but this approach also ignores the insurance component of Social Security and the benefits associated with transferring one's longevity risk. So what this means is, by not taking the money early, you're essentially buying insurance that if you live longer than expected, you're going to have a lot more income coming in to help you survive more comfortably. I mean, that's what it is, just like any insurance policy. And then finally, what discount rate you use in the calculation, this is a big deal. So what are you saying? What are you expecting that you're going to actually get on Social Security as far as the average increases? And what are you basing that number on compared to the future cash flows? Because even a very small change in this number can have a big impact on the quote-unquote ideal claiming age. So these are things that all should be considered if you're focusing on the break-even approach. I don't like the break-even approach very much. I don't think it's the right way to look at it personally, but I think it's one way to look at it. It's good to see the numbers, but I don't think it should be a primary decision. Okay. All right, some other considerations here. Spousal benefits. Consider planning for the partner who is likely to live the longest. So if you are somebody whose parents, pass away in their early 60s or early 70s, but maybe your partner or your spouse had parents that lived until they're 85, 90, 95, that's who you want to base the Social Security decision on, okay? The higher earner's benefit does not stop until the death of the second spouse, And so, like I mentioned before, this is especially true if money's going to be tight for the surviving spouse. So don't make your decision based on the person with the lower life expectancy or lower health considerations. Make your decision based on the person who might live longer, okay? Another thing to consider here is the earned income test. So if you will be employed beyond 62, there is a penalty for making over certain amounts of income. So what you have to be considerate of is wages and net earnings from self-employment. Investment income, pensions, capital gains, and inheritances are not included in this definition. So this is really for those of you who can be working either in your own business or working for some sort of wage somewhere. So let's talk about the earnings test. For 2021, the earnings limit for claiming before full retirement age is $18,960. So what that means is if you make over $18,960 and you're before the year you turn full retirement age, then you will face a penalty on your payments if you claim early. And for the year you reach retirement age, it's $50,520. Okay, so in the year you're going to turn whatever your full retirement age is, the earnings limit goes up significantly, but it's still not unlimited at that point. Okay, so how that penalty works is if you earn above $18,960 and you are before the year you reach full retirement age, you're going to lose $1 of your monthly payment for every $2 you earn above this amount. And in a year you turn full retirement age and earn over $50,520, you will earn $1 for every $3 you earn over this amount. So these are 2021 numbers. If you're watching this later, then you might have to update that. Okay, but there's a benefit. Okay, so it's not like the money's gone forever, by the way. Your post full retirement age benefit will be recalculated, and you will receive the loss back eventually. But you may be depending on this income today, and you want to be aware of the implications. Because, for example, if you're thinking, you're going to get your $1,500 a month or whatever the average is, but then you make, an extra $5,000 over the $18,960 for the year, well, that can hurt you a few $100s per month or a couple $100s per month. So you may end up having to earn more, which then is, again, going to hurt your monthly payment. And so it's kind of a cycle you really want to avoid if you can. But some of you are very smart, very savvy, and you will not work 1 hour more to go past that $18,960. So this is something I just want to make you aware of here. Okay, so here are my thoughts. This is how I think about it. And you may agree or disagree, and that's fine. But this is how I would want you to think about it, and how I recommend our clients think about it. I would like you to try to focus more on what happens if you or your spouse have extended longevity rather than missing out if you pass away early. Okay, so this is a Stanford marshmallow test. This is delayed gratification. This is all the stuff that we don't want to do. We don't want to think about. We want our stuff now, and because it's mine, and we want to have it today. But I really think focusing on your Social Security benefit as a insurance product or more like an annuity is the smarter way to look at it versus getting a few thousand extra dollars in the early years. Because with medical technology, folks, barring some sort of worldwide pandemic where everyone's just wiped out, which who knows what can happen now, but with medical technology that is on the horizon, life expectancy is expected to go up significantly in the not even that far in the future, by the way. So if you're in your 50s or early 60s, I heard there was a gentleman speaking not too long ago at a conference I was at. This was back in 2017. And what he said at that point was, if your clients are still alive 15 years from today, okay, so from 2017 plus 15 years is 2032. So if they're still alive at 2032, well, you can add a year of life expectancy for every year they live beyond that year, okay? So what that means is coming up and living to 105, 110, or 120 is going to start to be the normal over the next couple decades here. So these are things to think about, okay? And so I want you to have a comfortable life, and I would like you to think about what happens if you have extended longevity versus missing out. Number 2 is don't underestimate the compounding effect of delaying claiming your Social Security benefit. This can be easily a $100,000 to $200,000 decision if you or your spouse live past normal life expectancy. It is a big number. And I don't know if any of you actually done numbers, including looking at the inflation increases, including at looking at the delay credits and putting it all together. But very, very easily, this can be a 6-figure decision for you of more money that you'll actually be able to use in retirement. Even if you have to spend down some of your other funds early, it's something to really think about because it's a very big number. And please don't underestimate the compounding effect of that. And then I mentioned this earlier, but consider that all money drawn from pre-tax accounts like 401ks or IRAs to fund retirement is 100% taxable, while Social Security's maximum taxability is only up to 85% and could be 0% if your income is low enough. So these are all things that when you really put the numbers together, you put the package together of your Social Security claiming decision along with the rest of your retirement income decisions, it really can make a difference on how much you get to keep after taxes and then how much you'll get over time. So finally, don't make this decision like it exists on an island. Consider all relevant factors in making your retirement plan before making this crucial decision, okay? So that's what I have for you today. I'm going to see if there's any questions, and if not, we will wrap up for today. But I hope you enjoyed this. And I'll throw my website up here if you want some help with making your decision. We do offer complimentary consultations, and you can chat with us there. So if there are any questions, go ahead and get them in now. So I would like to know as well, who learned something today and who might consider doing something different than they were thinking before they watched this workshop today? Did anybody learn something or is going to think a different way about their decision versus before they started their workshop today? Okay. So a couple of questions are coming in here. Let's see here. Okay. So here's one. Okay. How about for a single mom with a disabled son currently on SSI that could receive parental retirement benefits? So what's your question about that? Should you take them? I would say yes. If you have a disabled son that you're caring for, that program, I have some clients that have some children with some special needs, and it can be really helpful to the household because I know how overwhelming it can be to have to help children that are disabled, especially as you age. So depending on the severity of that, I would definitely consider taking that if that's a possibility. And if your son can receive that as well, that can really help about too. Okay, good. I got somebody here that said me possibly delaying. Okay. Again, I'm not telling you to delay or not, but I want you to actually make your decision based on the whole picture. Okay, that's what all I'm trying to do is I want you to look at your retirement decisions from a comprehensive view. Look at your expected longevity. How much in assets do you have? Are you going to be working? What's going to happen if you or your spouse passes away early? What's going to happen if you live 5 or 10 years longer than you expect? Are you going to be okay in all those situations? Well, if delaying helps you, because if one of those situations happens, then you might want to consider it, And I know so many people want to get out of work so early and just retire and take their Social Security, but you want to think about the long term, folks. And so I'm really glad to hear that someone's thinking about it a little bit differently. Okay. So very good info. Made me feel confident and comfortable in the decision I was planning to make. So that's great to hear. That's all I really want. At the end of the day, I want you to be more confident and I want you to be more comfortable in the decisions that you're making. That's why I try to provide this education. And if you need help, that's why we're here. That's all good too. Okay, here's another good question. If I retire at 67, can I make as much as I want? Yes, absolutely. So if you retire, does that make any sense? If you retire at 67, can I make as much as I want? Well, if you're retired, then you don't have to worry about making as much as you want. But I think what you're asking is, if you claim your benefit and your full retirement age, and then you continue working, can you make as much as you want at that point? The answer is yes. All you have to worry about is the tax on Social Security. You won't have to worry about any sort of income test reduction. So I think that's what you're asking, hopefully. Okay, good. So wonderful. Thank you so much, folks. I appreciate you watching. I love doing these every week for you. I learned something, by the way. I put these together and I get reminded on things. So I appreciate you watching. If you didn't show up to watch, I wouldn't want to do them for myself even. But hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you're thinking about this a little bit differently and you're a little bit more educated today. And I want you to have a good, confident, solid retirement. And this Social Security decision is a big one. So make it with good choices. Bring in all the factors that come into play and look at everything together. Once again, I thank you so much and I'll wish you a wonderful weekend. If you need some help, I'll put my link in the comments, but it's keepitsimplefinancial.com/talk. And there will be my calendar page there and you can schedule a complimentary call and we'll talk to you then. Okay. Have a great day and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye now.